Hello and welcome back to How to Homeschool in High School, episode number 19. I'm your host, Nadine, and in this episode, we are going to be continuing the series we started last week called How to Homeschool, but today we're going to be discussing all things 10th grade. So, welcome to episode 2 of the How to Homeschool series, where we walk grade by grade through high school in the month of July, helping to prepare you, hopefully, for the upcoming school year. Like I said in the previous episode, which, by the way, if you have not listened to, I highly recommend going back and listening to the 9th grade episode and then coming to enjoy this one. Like I said, this is not a step-by-step guide to each grade. This is simply me inviting friends of mine who have recently graduated from the said grade that we were talking about that week, sharing their stories, sharing their experience, sharing curriculums, talking back and forth about experiences and struggles and concerns and how they work through them. It's just supposed to encourage you and hopefully inspire you for the upcoming school year. It's not made to be a guide to the grade, but hopefully you do gain some information to help you can implement in your next school year. So, for the last 2 months, I've been trying to schedule this interview because of summer schedules and because both of these girls are extremely busy with all wonderful things. We ended up having to do it last night. And it ended up having to be a remote recording session, which is perfect because I'm trying to figure out how to do that and get high quality audio. So this worked out great. We did run into a bunch of technical difficulties, and the audio quality is not up to my standard for audio quality, which I try to release the best I possibly can. But I believe this episode is definitely worth listening to. There is so much wisdom, so much encouragement that is shared and, talked about during this episode. So I highly recommend listening to the entire thing. I enjoyed all of it. So I hope you enjoy all of it and that you learned something about 10th grade and you were encouraged. So without further ado, let's just dive right in. This is the 10th grade Roundtable, and it's the first time we've ever done anything online before. So, obviously there are going to be some things we have to figure out, but we're all here and that's important. So the goal of all of these roundtables is simply to give people an understanding of different ways that this grade has been done with different people. And so they don't have to listen to me for all these episodes. I wanted friends of mine on who have just recently graduated from that grade to talk about how they did 10th grade or 9th grade, whatever grade that was. So you guys are here for the 10th grade episode, and you were both returning guests, which is pretty fun. So why don't you go ahead and just say hello and say your name and how long you've been homeschooling for.
Hi, my name is Grace. I have been homeschooled since kindergarten, so basically all my education years. And I just completed my 10th grade year, like this episode's about.
Hello, my name is Dora, and I have been homeschooling since kindergarten too, and I just finished 10th grade.
Perfect. All right, so that question again is kind of hard because all of you guys, or not hard, but it's kind of obvious because all of you, that's the reason you're here, is because you just graduated 10th grade. So not the most important question, but my favorite question to ask is, did you enjoy your sophomore year as a homeschooler?
Yeah, I really did. It was like I would say my first year that I actually really enjoyed schooling. There's definitely been most of my middle school years I did not really enjoy it, and then 9th grade was a little rocky with certain things, but 10th grade I really enjoyed. I had some great curriculum and it was a lot of fun.
I loved 10th grade. It was a lot of fun, and it was very difficult. I feel like every year of school gets more and more difficult, but in high school you really feel the jumps between each grade, and so it was more difficult than 9th grade for sure, but I really enjoyed it.
You want that jump of difficulty because that, it's to be expected, but that means you're doing it right because it should gradually get harder. And what you said, Grace, it does make 9th grade is a little bit of the if it's the starting year, it's the rocky place. You're trying to figure out what curriculums work. My ninth grade year was kind of a mess. We were all over the place. We had to stop science curriculum halfway through the year, like all that crazy stuff. But we were able to find stuff that worked. And that made 10th grade and 11th grade and hopefully 12th grade a lot more easier because I understood like what curriculums would work best in each grade. But also it's different. Whenever you start a new grade, you're starting new stuff too. So, it's all an adventure. But so did you have any concerns, if you remember, when you started out 10th grade? Like I said, it's the middle grade, these two middle grades, so they're not as large as, say, 9th grade or 12th grade, your senior year. But did you have any concerns you remember from starting 10th?
I mean, definitely science. So biology, what curriculum I was using, did not exactly go well in ninth grade.
Okay.
I want to study. I want to have a major in biology, but biology did not go well. So I was a little concerned with chemistry being as science-based as it is. I'm sorry, math-based as it is. And I'm not very good at math, so chemistry and then algebra 2 were definitely something I wasn't so sure about. Chemistry turned out to be awesome. Algebra 2 still wasn't that great. But on the chemistry side, it was a lot of fun, and I really ended up enjoying it at the end.
If you have anything, go ahead and add it, Dora. If you don't, that's totally fine.
I mean, I guess I was nervous about the new classes, especially like the math classes. Physics is like a lot of math, and then algebra 2 is like a lot of math, and like Grace, I do not enjoy math, so I was nervous about that, but I mean, it kind of met my expectations. It didn't like catch me off guard. I wasn't surprised by it once I started.
Cool. So that's interesting because we have two different science courses in 10th grade, so that's pretty cool. So Dora, you were doing, I'm guessing did you do chemistry ninth?
Yes, I did chemistry in 9th grade, biology in 8th grade.
Okay, so you were like a year earlier than, because like Grace and I both started biology in ninth. That's cool. That's really cool. I'm guessing that was your co-op's schedule.
Yeah, Blackburn combines 2 grades. So I'm in the younger grade. So half of my class does like biology 9th grade, chemistry 10th grade, physics 11th grade, but I'm in the younger half of grade. So I have to do it a year earlier.
That's pretty
just
cool.
how Blackburn works.
Yeah. So you kind of get the advantage because you're kind of starting earlier. That's pretty cool. You both had kind of a concern for 10th grade, and it worked out as, like for Dora's case, as you expected, and Grace a little better than you had expected. So we all have concerns before we go into grades, but most of the time they end up being okay. So thank you both for sharing, though, because I'm sure people can relate to that. I don't remember having concerns besides the workload increase whenever I went into 10th grade. I was kind of like, 9th grade was a lot, 10th grade might be more, but it was still manageable. Like you find out you're ready for it whenever you get there. So I thought that that was encouraging for me.
Yeah.
All right. So with 10th grade and with people starting to plan for next year, was there any ways in which you customized your 10th grade year to kind of fit your skills or something you're interested in? It doesn't necessarily have to be a career path, but just maybe you got to do, I know I've talked to girls who have done special art classes because that really interested them. Something like that, if there's anything.
Well, this year, as part of art, because you do have to have so many half credits or credits of art in order to graduate high school, depending on what diploma program you are working through. But for art this year, I decided, along with piano, which counts, so music counts, but what I also did was almost like it wasn't a textbook, but it was like as thick as a textbook, and it was a John Muir Law's Guide to Nature Drawing and Journaling, I think is the title. Cool. And it was for me who wants to study birds. Nature journaling and drawing is a bigger part of it than you actually realize, and there's a lot of like in order to sometimes get certain jobs in these kind of ornithology fields, you have to be able to like show your work in nature journaling and drawing because it's a big part of how you take notes and you observe. So this book was a really good book that I was able to do, which counted towards art, but then I was able to also tailor it towards my interests. So yeah.
That's pretty awesome. You kind of did two birds with one
Yeah,
stone.
exactly.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yep.
What about you, Dora? Do you have anything?
Yeah, I mean, I still don't have any like decided plans about what I want to pursue in college. So I've thought about maybe this upcoming year taking an anatomy course because I am interested in pursuing nursing.
Yeah.
But it's not like a set in stone plan yet. I've just been like tossing that idea around.
Yeah.
I didn't do any like specific career path prep, I guess, for 10th grade.
Yeah, no, and that's totally 100% fine because that's something that I didn't do in my 10th grade year. I was just kind of going with the flow, trying to figure out what I liked and what I disliked. Yeah, I think if I was doing anything, I think I was writing a book that I wanted to write. So I think that was my extra thing, but I'm not going to be a writer. So it was just kind of random and fun. But it could be stuff like that too. Yeah, not necessarily.
Yeah.
exactly
The
career.
one thing I want to add is the amazing thing about high school is as you work through like these things, like, especially in the science fields, as there's like this biology, chemistry, physics, and then a fourth year that usually you get to choose, you almost like you don't realize necessarily what you want to do until you get through high school. And then after exploring those courses, it then like opens up and you're like, oh, I really enjoyed that. Is there something that I would really enjoy using like chemistry or using like my creative writing skills that I worked on? So that's definitely been something that I've noticed a lot for me. In only doing 2 years of high school, but still it's tailoring. Even some of your other courses may tell you what you want to maybe think about doing and what you definitely do not want to do as a career.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a really good point. You discover what you like and what you don't like. And then especially in with homeschooling because we're able to do dual so heavy duty classes that will pertain to our future. So if we don't like it, we know that before we go to college, which gives us a extra step up, which is pretty cool. Or
Definitely.
we're ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've kind of already talked about curriculums a little bit, but kind of in different places. So let's just go ahead and just start out with how did you choose your curriculums that you used this year?
Well, majority of my curriculum, so like Math UC, like I said earlier, I've been using. So that's something I've just continued using. Science, we use Dr. J. Wiles, which I learned about through Nadine. So thank you, Nadine, for that amazing recommendation. And then my Spanish 2 was also, I had done Spanish 1 in my 9th grade year, so I just chose to do Spanish 2 again. And I had an amazing teacher that Nadine also recommended to me, and that was a lot of fun. I had a great Spanish year. And then a lot of the other curriculum, like Abeka, Story of the World. Well, Story of the World, again, Nadine, you recommended it. But the other ones
Probably
I've been
mom.
using. Oh, okay, it was your mom. Yeah, someone in your family did.
Yeah.
But basically all the curriculum I used this past school year was either I've been using before, just in the younger grade levels, or your family recommended to us. So that's basically it.
Actually, really funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad all the recommendations have worked out.
Yes, they have.
Because that means when I tell people things in this podcast, I have you as proof that they work.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. So the interesting thing about having you both on is, like in the case with Gracie and Rachel last week, they were both attending the same co-op. But you guys both do homeschooling very differently. So I'm guessing, Dora, a lot of your curriculum choices came straight from Blackburn. Is that right?
Yeah. Blackburn chooses all the curriculum for all my classes except for math, which we did the Saxon math for Algebra 2. And so for physics, I did Apologia Physics.
Yes.
And then by Dr. Weil. And for Spanish 3, I think it was just called Descubre, like Descubre Trace or something. So I forget like what brand it was.
That's okay.
And we did a really interesting for history. It was called 2,000 Years of Christ's Power, and it was basically just the history of the church through the Middle Ages. So our whole history course was just completely focused on the church history.
That's really interesting. I have never heard of that history curriculum before.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. Yeah.
What was
I
it?
want to go do that.
Yeah. What was it called again?
It was called 2,000 Years of Christ's Power. Okay. And it's like a 4-volume thing, I think.
Oh, wow.
Maybe more, maybe 6 volume. We just did the 4th of 6 volumes, I think. But I'd never used it before, never heard of it before. But there was a review on the back by Carl Truman, who's a professor at Grove City. So, I mean, that's cool. What more do you have to ask for?
Exactly. That's the thing I love about co-ops is they introduce you to new curriculum choices you probably would not have had otherwise, but then you also have friends who recommend curriculum, like that was our experience with Grace. So there's more than one way to get curriculum recommendations, not necessarily just from your co-op, but co-ops are pretty cool because they, you've never heard of it before. I never heard of Fallacy Detective before I started our co-op, and those are the logic books we've always used, so it's cool. It's really cool, different ways, but you can kind of get it from different resources than your co-op, your homeschooling group, your co-op, or your friends' recommendations all the time, or the podcast. That works too.
Yeah. Check out the podcast for great recommendations.
And I love how we all had Dr. J. Weil this year because that just.
Oh yeah, he's like an amazing science teacher, absolutely amazing.
I've been seeing a lot of things on Instagram, like the best curriculum choices are, for your family, which I totally agree, because there's not one cookie cutter program for each person when it comes to homeschooling. But I disagree when it comes to science. I think high school science should always be Dr. J. Weil, and I will say that.
Yes.
What was the best experience you had in 10th grade? This is a fun question. It's also a hard question.
Do you know what's funny? I really hated physics, like the math part of it, like the workload part of it, but I also loved it so much. It was like so much fun to go to the classes and do the labs and like learn the concepts. And I'd be sitting there thinking, man, I'm going to hate this when I get home and have to do all the homework. But right now it's really fun. Yeah. And so in class, I think physics was my favorite class. But at home doing like the assigned work, physics was like my least favorite class because it was just very time consuming.
Yeah, and it is.
Like every problem is like a struggle. You've got to like work through it so slowly, but it was fun in class.
Yeah. And did you have problems that would take up your full page? Like I got to the point where I was doing a problem and it literally took up my whole entire page, and I was like,
yeah.
But you know what?
I feel smart, but is it worth it?
Exactly. But we were learning some really cool stuff, like being able to calculate these certain things. I'm like, I'm doing planet orbit paths. Like, how cool is that?
I know. It's crazy.
So now, since I'm doing dual enrollment and I'm doing chemistry again next year, I'm like, maybe I do want to do physics, but then again, maybe I do not want to do physics.
It's fun. It's really fun.
Yeah.
But it's also a lot of work, so.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But I think it would 100% depend on the teacher, because our teacher at Blackburn is super experienced. She's been teaching in a public high school and at Blackburn for like more than 20 years, I think, and she's super good at what she does and made the class so fun. And I think trying to do physics on my own would have been a nightmare, but having a teacher made it so much more fun.
I 101% agree with that. I had Dr. Weil live, which was awesome. So, and he made it such a difference. Like, he made every class so much fun. He would show us why this is so cool that we're able to learn this, And then I started seeing physics everywhere, and that was also a blessing and a curse at the same time. Like whenever we're driving in the rain, I'm like, oh, and they say like, I would always say, oh, it's low tire friction today. You can't drive really fast. I'm like, what is happening to me? But yeah, so the teacher makes a ton of difference. My mom dropped out of physics because the teacher was so awful. It's and I think she would have loved it. So it's just it really makes a huge difference.
Oh yeah. Like I would say part of my experiences with teacher again, in the Spanish that I did through TPS with the Potter School. The first teacher I had, she was good. She knew what she was doing, but she was not necessarily the best teacher. Like she knew the language, she knew
Mhm.
how to speak it, she knew all the concepts. She just wasn't necessarily the best teacher, especially for like students who like they've never learned Spanish before. But then this year in 10th grade, my teacher, he was fantastic, or in Spanish, fantastico. Yeah, he was so much fun. I also got to like actually do a lot more speaking through the majority of the an hour and a half live class I had each week. And that was a lot of fun. While the first year I did a lot of sitting and watching with a little bit of speaking, but this past year it was just a lot of fun being able to actually speak it, and I've learned way more and I'm able to confidently speak Spanish now. Not like the best, but still I can speak it more to like friends
Mhm.
and other people now that with this past year behind me. So yeah.
Yeah. Yep. There's a lot of difference between teachers. All right. So this is a good question. Do you feel like you missed out on anything in your 10th grade year compared to like a public schooling in system? Anything?
Nope, I really
No?
don't think so. I got to do more. What I said, definitely this past year more than I had before. Especially doing a couple months in private school in 8th grade. I definitely am able to complete and accomplish so many more things and pursue my passions way more as a homeschooler and as a high schooler, because high school, whether you're homeschooled or a public school, you get a lot more work. But even as a homeschool high schooler, I still was able to do a lot of things that I wanted to do, while still completing my schooling, learning a lot from it, and actually gaining more from it than doing busy work of homework every night when you're tired and your brain doesn't work.
Yeah, I really love homeschooling, and I would never have chosen, like, if I could go back and redo my whole schooling experience, I would never choose public school over the experience I've had homeschooling. It's been wonderful.
So I've been asking this question and I haven't gotten something yet. So I love that so much because so many times we're focused on what homeschoolers can't do and we forget all the amazing things that we can do. And I totally agree with you, Grace. I have gotten a lot more done. I've learned a lot more about how I work and how to structure my day properly than I would if someone was telling me what to do all the time and
Yep,
how to get classes done. So
definitely. Yeah.
there's a lot of benefit in that. So cool. I didn't feel like I missed out on anything in 10th grade. We found plants and pillars that year, so we did our first track and field year, which was wonderful. We loved our sports teams.
Plants and pillars for the win. Yes.
Yes, it's back again. We'll talk about plants and pillars forever, but co-ops that do sports teams, they're the best. So yeah, we got that, and then yeah, we got to do a lot of cool things our 10th grade year. So I would totally agree. I would never take it back for public school, um, any day. But is there anything, I've never asked this question before, but I was wondering, is there anything that you would have done differently this year, looking back? For anyone who's starting out 10th grade, or is there any advice you have for anyone doing 10th grade next year?
When it comes to something different, I'm not sure if I actually would do anything different. I mean, if you had asked me like in January, I would have said, yeah, I might have wanted something different. But at the end of the year, once I was done with everything, I really don't think so. Um, on advice, I would say just enjoy it. There's going to be hard days, but you still need to enjoy it, because something that when I graduated 10th grade, I'm already halfway through high school, which means I only have 2 more years before I'm going to college.
Mm-hmm.
And you really don't realize that when you first start 10th grade, but as soon as the year's over, you're halfway done.
Yeah.
And that can be a really exciting thing, but also can be a little like, oh boy, I've got to fit a lot into my last 2 years.
Yeah, no, I totally felt that way. And
Yeah.
I felt like I was like, wow, I didn't really enjoy 10th. I did. I enjoyed my 10th grade year off.
Yeah.
But I
You
having
also
that,
don't think it's gonna come, and then it's
yes,
on you right in a second.
that was it.
Yeah.
I really wasn't prepared for the fact that I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, I'm halfway done after this year.
Yeah.
It's
It
crazy.
hit me like it hit me so hard right at like the 3/4 mark. I was like, once I finish, I'm gonna be halfway done. And
Yeah.
it felt like I had barely started high school at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it still does. It feels like I just started high school and it's
Yeah,
already
exactly.
halfway over. And I'm like, it feels like to me, once you're halfway through something, the second half goes way faster. And
Yep.
it's just kind of making me sad that like my high
Yeah,
school
I would
experience
agree with you,
isn't going to
definitely. Yeah.
last forever.
Yeah. Yeah, you feel like when you start at 4 years, that's a long time. No, it isn't. Because now
Yeah.
I'm
Not.
done with like 11th grade. I'm looking at my last year and I'm like, this is it. Like, this is the last first day of school. This is, the last time, all these things and all these days you wish you were done. And then all of a sudden you're almost done. And you're
Yep.
like, I wish I wasn't almost done.
Yeah. You just like when you said it was like your last first day of school, I'm like, yeah, this is my second to last first day of school.
Exactly.
I didn't realize that until now. And
Well,
that's
unless you
kind of
count
like
college.
exciting, but
Yeah.
yeah, but it's also a little like, oh, I don't get to live at home and not have to
Yeah.
be an adult yet.
Yeah, that's totally true. Um, I lost my train of thought here. Dora, do you have do you have any advice for any rising sophomores?
Structure is very important today's. Like when
Yes.
I was younger, I feel like my structure was kind of based on it was kind of like a family experience homeschooling. We had like a homeschooling room and we would all go in there and work on our workbooks and stuff. And it was
Yeah.
kind of mom would sit in her chair and just kind of supervise us like while we did our book work and she'd help us whenever we needed help. And now that I'm in high school, it's completely independent because I'm only like reporting to tutors at Blackburn rather than my mom at home. And so at home, I've had to like develop a structure to my days. And it's very important to have a good structure so that it doesn't take all day because it did at first. It took all day, especially with like upper level like sciences and maths. It's for me, it just took forever. And so you need to have a good structure so that you're not putting off the hard stuff till the end and taking forever.
That is
Yes, that's very smart.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing piece of advice. That's something I learned
Oh
the
yeah.
entire high school years. I'm still learning that. And we would start off with math every single day, and that discipline would get the hardest thing done. And then
Yes.
it's
Same. Yeah.
easier for the rest of the day.
Yeah, that's what
But
I had to start doing to
yeah,
get it like finished.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And then after
Yeah.
that, everything else seems a little easier to get done after you get the hardest
Yeah,
thing
it does. Like for me, I would always do, even though I love Spanish and science, it still took me the longest. So I would just get it out of the
Yes.
way. And it was like math, which I didn't like, but it really didn't take me too long to do math on most days unless it was really complicated. Um, but then like all the other little like 15-minute things just filter in, or like if you need a break from like the math and sciences, you just do a 15-minute on
Yep.
like vocabulary something, and that definitely helped a lot. It also helped on preventing like headaches or your brain going dead or you're just getting frustrated. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Having those hard things looming over your head the whole day really detracts from enjoying homeschooling
Yeah.
and enjoying school.
It really does.
So
Yeah.
if you just get up and get it done, it makes you're setting yourself up for success for the rest of the day. So, but that's a hard lesson to learn because there was days I didn't do it, and then all of a sudden I'm suffering at the end, not suffering, but it's harder at the end of the day than I need it to be. And so I learned how to discipline myself a little better through all that. So that is really good. Get your structure, and it'll take a minute. It'll take a few months of school before you have a structure for yourself. But it's important to start working on that as soon as you can. As soon as you can. So it's a great piece of advice. Thank you, Dora, for sharing. Both of you for sharing.
Definitely the one positive thing to public schooling is that you always get to school at a certain time every day.
That's
That
true.
is very helpful. So if any of you are starting out homeschooling who came from a public school, keep that up because that will help you accomplish more and feel like you've accomplished more. And there's a book called Make Your Bed. It's by a Navy SEAL. You all should read it. It's perfectly clean. There's nothing bad in it, but it's something everyone needs to read, especially if you're starting out in homeschooling, because it is a really good book to help you like structure your day to give you almost the best success as possible. So, yeah.
I have heard of that book before, but I've never read it. So I'm actually going to write it down and I'm going to read it myself. But
Yeah, definitely recommend it. I believe you can get it on Amazon, all probably your audiobook or ebook streaming
yeah,
devices, all of that fun stuff. It's a pretty popular book, but it is really worth it, especially even if you're not doing homeschooling, but even just starting out in anything new or hard or challenging. It's definitely worth the read.
yeah, because there's a lot of flexibility in homeschooling, and you want to make sure you don't lose that to being completely gripped to your structure, because that's why we homeschool. So we're not like the public school, but starting at a specific time, like 30 minutes, like maybe it's 8 to 8:30. Like if you get started in that amount of time, it helps you if you have a co-op, because then you have to get up and be there at a certain time, at least two or one time a week. But just doing that simple thing will make your day so much easier, and you'll feel better about yourself because you're like, I got up and I got stuff
Oh,
done.
yes.
So
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
okay, so do you have anything that you learned about yourself in 10th grade? This is a deeper question, but it comes off of that year in review I just did with my mom. And I found that this is a very interesting question because people have a lot of different lessons that they learn, and very similar to what I experienced over the last 3 years. But does anything come to mind? It's okay if there's nothing.
Well, like I said earlier about enjoying it, that's definitely
Yes,
something.
yes.
Other thing is that never judge a book by its cover. I did not think I was going to enjoy chemistry. I was almost
Mhm.
dreading it. Maybe not quite, but pretty close to it. But even after just the first couple of weeks, I really was enjoying it, and it was really like worth it. And I found that it was actually something that I enjoy, and I'm going to be doing enrollment courses in my 11th grade year. So I must have enjoyed it enough to do it in 11th grade.
Yeah.
But that's definitely something. Yeah, never judge a curriculum or a specific topic.
Mm.
So yeah.
That is yeah, definitely. I was kind of scared for physics. I was like, it's kind of big and kind of mathy, and I was just like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this, but I ended up like really liking it. So that is a good point to make. Never judge a subject by its reputation too, because you might end up enjoying it more than you think you are going to. So, Dora, is there anything that you want to add?
You know what? I guess my brain just is dying this evening because I had something on the tip of my tongue, and then as soon as you asked me that, it evaporated.
It disappears. Yeah. Well, you know what? Something I saw you learn this year, which was the whole hurdles thing with track this year. Like that was something that you were kind of scared to do, but you learned that you could actually do it, and it was really fun to watch you through the whole season, like progress through that, and like get more confident in yourself. So that was something that came to my mind that I like was really inspired by this year. So.
Well, I'm just gonna shoot that right back at you because you just like started doing hurdles kind of, I mean, you started a little bit later, didn't you? I don't remember. It was about the same time as me, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, it was the same. I think it was the same time.
Yeah.
We braved it
But
together.
like you just like automatically excelled at that, and it was amazing to like, I mean, you had like so much progress through that. It was incredible.
I didn't feel like it. I did. But those are, I think, the both thing that we work through is just jumping over those hurdles and, doing that sometimes would seem scary. So I just think that was something we both grew in this year and learned about ourselves. So, did it come back to you or not? I don't want to move on without.
So yeah, doing the big hard maths and sciences, like it's never going to be quick and easy, but that doesn't mean you have to hate it. Like,
yeah,
it's going to take time, it's going to take effort, it's going to take hard work, but just because it's hard doesn't mean it's bad necessarily.
Yes.
Like, there's
So
a difference.
true.
And you need to be able to distinguish between them. Like, do I hate this or is it just hard? Because, like, I didn't hate physics. It was hard, but I enjoyed it. Like, and by the end of the year, I think it was my favorite class.
Yeah.
Even though it was, like, so time consuming.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Just because it's hard doesn't mean it's not worth it. You know, most things that are hard are the most worth it in the end. So, yeah, that's great. That mindset is amazing to have, because you can pretty much get through anything hard by knowing that it's going to be worth it in the end. And just switching that in your brain, which is hard to learn, but there's a lot of courses in high school that will teach you that if you let them. So the big question, the drum roll question, will you be homeschooling through 11th grade next year?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. With dual enrollment at a local college that my dad's a professor at. So again, yes.
I am dual enrolled at the exact same college. Officially, it just came through today.
No way.
Yes.
We're going to have 3 dual enrollment students right here.
It's going to be
next
so
year.
Fun.
I'm taking
So
Writing
awesome.
101 on campus.
Oh,
and I'm excited about it because I thought I was going to have to do it like online because of Blackburn, but I'm going to do this Tuesday, Thursday, and Blackburn Monday, Wednesday.
That's brilliant.
And so I can do both. I'm very happy.
Awesome.
This is so exciting.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So we're going to have all 3 of us on campus next year doing classes. So
yeah,
awesome.
That'll be so fun.
So it sounds like you guys are both going to have a very fun and very full junior year. But both of you will continue homeschooling. So I guess we'll be back next year when we do this again in the summer. You guys can talk about all the things that you learned through your 11th grade.
That'll be a lot of fun, and it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see how we grew and what changed between now and next year.
Yes. I'm sure there will be some new things you can learn about yourself, especially as you start dual enrollment. Because that's what I learned a lot about myself too. So that about wraps it up for this episode. Thank you both so much for sticking through all the technical difficulties that we encountered doing this first remote interview, but I'm grateful for both of you being on and sharing all about your sophomore year, everything you learned about yourself. And I hope you guys enjoyed it too, because I had fun. I had a lot of fun.
Oh yes, I had a lot of fun. Thank you so much, Nadine.
Thank you for being willing to be on.
Thank you. This was wonderful.
Yeah.
So that is it for this week's episode for the 10th grade Roundtable interview, and we made it through. Like I said, we had a ton of technical difficulties, but these girls stuck with it, and they were so kind and they were so considerate, and they just let me work through it all and get everyone situated, and it ended up being a great episode, and we ended up recording until 8:45 last night. So they are troopers, and I am so grateful for both of them. So shout out to Grace and Dora for being part of this episode and for sticking with me. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you were encouraged and you learned something, and hopefully it was enjoyable to listen to. That is always my goal. We're going to jump right into the question of the episode, because we were using Zoom and they have that cutoff time unless you are a member. So we had a 40-minute cutoff time, and we were down to the wire at the end of this episode. So we had to forfeit the question, and I will do it right now. Do you believe homeschoolers miss out on amazing, unforgettable high school memories? Why or why not? So I got this as a comment. Someone wrote, I feel bad for you guys. You're missing out on high school memories. And I turned that into a question that I want to address on the podcast, because it's, I don't believe it to be true. I don't believe I am missing out on any amazing, unforgettable high school memories because of one simple thing. I believe there are different ways to experience high school, and none of them are the ultimate. So a lot of assumptions are made that public school is the ultimate way of experience high school. I would be on the disagreeing side of that. I think there are a lot of opportunities that homeschoolers get that are really unforgettable and amazing that are not presented in public school. One is the opportunity to just start your own business and be really involved in it. So I've had entrepreneurs on before. They've talked about their businesses. And then for me, it would be my podcasting. And I know there's a lot of homeschool podcasters out there who have the similar experience that I do. Something that we've been able to do at a different level because we are homeschooled. Another thing is being able to travel a lot more during the school year, pretty much being able to pursue passions at deeper levels. There's a ton of unforgettable memories that we are making, especially if you have a really fun homeschooling group. We do proms, we do sports teams. I don't think necessarily as long as you have a homeschooling group around you and you are not isolated as a homeschooler, you will not miss out on anything that is amazing or unforgettable. So there are different ways to experience high school, and none of them are the ultimate. Some people have awful experiences in public school. Some people have really bad experiences as homeschoolers. So in other words, don't assume other people are missing out just because they're doing something different than you are. I think that is very strongly assumed towards homeschoolers. So don't feel bad for us. We're making plenty of unforgettable memories. You know what I said in my brain, I don't even think I really answered him, but I said, don't worry, homeschooling is unforgettable. And I think that is 100% true. So that's all I have for this episode. I hope you learned something about 10th grade. If you have any questions regarding curriculums or anything that was addressed here, feel free to email, reach out, comment under any posts. And hopefully I will be able to address your question on the podcast or email you directly. So next week is junior year, and I'm so excited. We already recorded this episode. It is amazing. Both the girls that I had on shared incredible wisdom and so much to talk about, so much good things to think about. So definitely stick around next week for that continuation. And then we're almost done. It is almost August. Oh my goodness, it's getting real, guys. We're almost at the next school year, so it's going to be exciting. A lot of amazing content coming up. Just stick around for some exciting news and everything. Thank you guys for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and as always, continue to stay curious. I'll see you all next week. Bye.